Hey guys, Dantix here. After waiting what seems like an eternity, we finally have more Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay. With that gameplay comes a ton of new information. Not to waste any time, this video will be a very high level look at what we can expect without major spoilers, including what content creators and media outlets got to experience, customization, genitals, body mods, life paths, driving, gunplay, open world, graphics, stealth, items, the Braindance feature and more. I'll deep dive into the nitty gritty in later videos, but for now, let's get your beak wet for the most anticipated game of the last 8 years and buckle up. Before we start giving away a Switch console, enter below for your chance to win, follow me on my socials, chat Cyberpunk on my Discord with me directly, and help me out with the standard YouTube stuff. Okay, so when you start out, you'll be creating your character. You will choose a body type with a ton of customization options. Every content creator that got the chance to play the game said the same thing. There was a lot of depth to it, but they didn't have the time to fully explore it as the demo was time gated. However, you can customize down to the teeth. That's not a metaphor. You're able to walk around with a green and pink teeth grill and piercings everywhere. Of course, you can also customize your genitals. Many people being fairly coy about this, but the options for penises are the size: small, medium, and large. No slider available. You can also choose a vagina, but no sizes available there. Not to say they don't come in different sizes, because we all know they do. You can also choose to have no genitals. It's unclear if this means you won't be able to engage in sex because of it, but I don't know, you still have a mouth and various robot holes, so I'm sure you can. You can drastically customize your pubic hair, however. There are hearts, lightning bolts, and many other shapes, so you can use and apply a magnitude of colors to those. You can also go full pink 80s Afro bush if you want. You'll be happy to know you can customize the size of your breasts and ass too, though you can't go as crazy as I'd like with these. Don't expect to be walking around with triple G tartars and a dump truck booty that cracks the sidewalk. You also get to customize your voice with a choice of masculine or feminine. This is the most limited option, but it's understandable since voice acting a game of this magnitude would be a gargantuan endeavor. However, you can have a feminine voice with a ripped masculine body that has a Ken doll smooth crotch and a Nelly style grill, so go nuts. Next, you'll get to choose your starting attribute. You get to assign 7 attribute points, and this will be the most important decision while creating a character. I'd argue even in front of your life path, which I'll discuss after this. You have 5 attributes and they break down as follows. Cool influences your critical damage, stealth, and self-control. Tech influences your armor, craftable loot harvesting chance, and tech aptitude. Intelligence influences your hacking ability and program upload duration. Body influences your physical strength, your health, and reduces bullet spread. Finally, reflex influences your coordination, speed, attack speed, and critical chance shots. I'll go into more detail in a later video, but needless to say, there's a lot to think about here. How you build will influence the rest of the game, as there's more to it than just how the attributes affect you passively. You see, each attribute has perk trees, yes, multiple trees, each which have dozens of perks in them that you'll be getting access to and slotting into your character. There are hundreds of different perks total. These perks also give bonuses the more you use them, so if you use your arm blades, you'll gather experience and level up perks associated with them. Yes, perks level alongside skills and your character. Before doing all of this, however, you choose a backstory for your character, your life path. You have the choice between Street Kid, Corpo, and Nomad. These life paths actually start you in a different area and changes the 5-hour long prologue. I say 5 hours, but it can be longer if you take the time to explore, read everything, and breathe. With time limits, no one really did. The life path section is a cutscene focused 30-minute experience. After the life path, the narrative merges and you continue down the same path of the prologue no matter your choice. However, your life path will consistently come up throughout the story, letting you use your experience in dialogue checks, like I've mentioned in the previous video. This whole system feels exactly like BioWare's Dragon Age Origins, which isn't a bad thing at all. I won't go into exactly what happens in each prologue to avoid spoilers, but I can't stress that each feels drastically different. The Nomad path has you out in a beautiful looking desert area. Corpo has you living out corporate espionage in a beautiful city, and Street Kid has you living the street life in a slum. Each area is different as well as the people you meet. The assumption is later in the mainline missions, this origin story and the people you meet will come up again. When you're thrown into the world, you'll be given a massive amount of freedom and are able to explore as much as you want. It's even overwhelming to some people. The environment is much more diverse than anything you've seen in previous games and is truly breathtaking. Even the individual characters had their own flair. The developers stated that each character's backstory and personality has been explored, even if you don't directly see it. The game was running easily over 60 frames a second with ray tracing enabled on a medium to high-end PC, and the main thing to note is almost everyone that got to play the game was overwhelmed at just how much they could see or do, and how much love has gone into the title. If you thought this game wouldn't be like what was shown in the gameplay demos, you're wrong. You can jump into a car which handles beautifully and run people over, can shoot cops, can dig through trash cans and more. Regardless of your choices, you'll meet Jackie, your main character's buddy, who I won't foreshadow with. Needless to say, early on you're going on a mission with him and Dexter Deshawn. The missions surrounding that have already been teased in the 45-minute gameplay demo. What is notable is that it's all fairly early on in the experience. This is essentially a tutorial section of the game, so we really haven't seen anything beyond that. So you go through a mission to collect a spider bot for Dexter, like we've already seen, and are offered many ways of doing it. Most people opt for the path of violence. This is where they ran into the most common criticism. Since everyone played on controllers and auto-aim hadn't been implemented for most people, it felt floaty. Many people weren't happy with it, but as a mostly PC gamer myself, I experienced this with many games in early access. However, I've heard from a few players who had their auto-aim on that they very much enjoyed the combat, so it seemed even throughout the players, the builds were slightly different, or the option defaults were at least. So I mentioned there's a ton of customization, but what I didn't mention is, well, there's more. You can customize your whole body with modifications, eventually turning you into an android and costing you your humanity. Humanity being like a currency you trade away when modifying yourself. Think of a diagram of the human body. There are arrows pointing to each section where you can slot in particular implants. These implants show visually and provide either an active, triggered, or passive ability. Triggered turns on when something happens, like your health drops, active needs to be manually activated, and passive always applies. You can get these mods at various Ripper docks around the world. You start off with a set of mantis blades you see in the gameplay demos, an optical implant which is required to see information on your heads-up display about enemies, and a reflex turner that does the Matrix-like time dilation slowdown when you're at critical health. Hacking puts you in an industry standard minigame of sorts, and there's nothing really notable there besides the actual results which I've gone through before. You can do everything from blowing up a person's grenades, to controlling their body, to shutting down security and blowing up robots. However, stealth is very much like Skyrim. The more you invest in it, the more ridiculously stupid the enemies will seem to you. They have an awareness prompt over their head, and players could get 10 meters away from them and still be hidden. This is very much an RPG stealth system. Not to say it's bad, I personally love it, and the way I'm thinking, I'll run a Corp Hitman style build with cool investment, pistols, stealth, and hacking, and I'll be making many a video on messing with the AI. If you invest heavily in body though, you can simply beat your enemies to death with your fists. It's very much like a boxing fantasy. You have a 3-hit combo flurry and can put your guard up to block. What is notable though is you can get headshots and crits from your fists. You also get to use a sword and your blades. The sword felt quite light though, and after playing games like God of War, many people have come to expect some visceral feedback that was lacking in this. However, I can say that the Mantis blades felt much better. The guns feel and look great. There is zero complaints there, and I'm sure every person playing Cyberpunk will feel the same. Within the short time everyone got to play, there were a ton of weapons available that dropped with different stats, mods, slots, and more. If this is any indication of the future, we can expect a crazy amount of items to collect and customize our playstyles with. So you have your side quests, your world quests, and your mainline quests. Most of these require you to simply walk up to the starting point to kick them off. You can also do bounty hunts and explore for particular items. You can also randomly walk around and come across disputes like fights happening all around. It's crazy. The world is alive and you'll constantly feel it. You can kill anyone you see. cops eventually come for you and you get a GTA style star rating in which you'll have to evade them to lose it. The quests are level gated though. This means that if you're level 9 and see a level 18 quest, you can do it, but you'll most likely get owned. I can't wait to see how speedrunners break this game and plow through levels far too high for their character. So the final gameplay element I want to cover is the Detroit Become Human-like crime scene investigation tool called Braindancing. During the narrative, you'll come across scenes you can explore to discover what happened throughout memories and recorded implants. You first play these out in first person, experiencing what the person in question experienced. You can then zoom out, rewind, pause, listen to audio around the scene, look at the security cameras and more. In the Braindance, we get to see you experience a gang member being prepped to rob a store by his friend. He goes in, robs the place, then gets shot in the back. You scrub the footage and find it was the friend that killed him, probably to sell the memory at a high price. You see, some people get off experiencing a death through braindancing and will pay to see the experience. I guess there's new kinks in 2077. Before we wrap up, I want to mention that CD Projekt Red is working on a Cyberpunk anime, which is expected to hit Netflix in 2022. It's being worked on in collaboration with a Japanese studio, so if you want to know more, check out the short trailer on CD Projekt Red's YouTube channel. Alright, so that's my top level look at Cyberpunk 2077. What did you think? Are you more or less excited for the title? Come on, it's going to be impossible for you to not be hyped at this point. So let me know and do the standard YouTube stuff. I'll be back very soon with more, so keep your eyes peeled to Slashed Antics. Ciao friends.